Good morning. I'm a bit early. I'm just going to wait a minute or two, check everyone who's jumping on. Oh, it is 11 o'clock now. Cool. I'll just check. I'll just wait for you to nip on. Lovely. I need a place for this. Good morning, whoever is there. Good morning, people. So I'm in my spare room again. Don't worry, I'll move my head in a minute when I start painting. I'm just going to put this paint in here so I can see it next to me. Okay. I don't think you guys can see that's not on the screen, is it? That's okay. No worries. So this morning, before we get started, there's not enough space up here. That's my only problem. I had more space in my little caravan. As we get started this morning with this beautiful sunset with the boats, I'll just show you what we're doing again to remind you. It comes up a really skinny picture, but that's okay. I'm going to start with the colours red, yellow and orange and white. That's what's on my palette this morning. I don't know if this is going to take more than an hour. I'm sure I say that every bloody week, but that's okay because I've got a week off soon because I'm going away. I'm here next week and then I'm off. So we'll start with this. I've got my board 30 by 40 in portrait facing, and we're going to start by, we're just going to do this top bit as if it's the sky, really sort of slim up here, not very far down, because then I want to put in these grasses and everything, and then we'll have quite a big boat in here and some grasses at the bottom. So let's go. Let's start with that. I'm going to start with my 1-inch brush and dab in a little tiny bit of water, and we will mix some yellow and red to get a nice orange colour. And if you want to add some white to that, because I usually, as you know, I quite often just paint in my colours and then add as I go. So this top bit, is my head in the way, or am I okay there? I think I'm okay. Still getting used to this new angle of being in the spare room. So this top bit is quite orangey, but it does go sort of quite lighter underneath. But at the top, I'm going to make mine quite orangey, which I'm just mixed the red and the yellow. That's quite a good angle, isn't it? Because I'm here underneath the phone. The phone's above my head. So it's quite a good angle for you guys to see, and my head doesn't get in the way. So we're just mixing red and yellow to get a nice dark orange, and a little bit of water with that as well to get our first base colour in there. And as always, however you want to paint, like I tend to paint, I seem to be painting straight across today, but I tend to paint in sort of crisscross strokes mostly. And if you want to make it more orangey, add more yellow, because the red is quite strong. And then as we get down to the bottom, I'm just going to finish that top bit. I'm going to make it paler. It is quite pale through the middle as well, but I never fully, for me personally, I'm not into trying to make it exactly like the picture anyway. I just like to go by the picture and do my own interpretation of it. But I am going to add in a little bit of white through this middle section to lighten it up a bit. But obviously as you're doing yours, you can do whichever variation you want to do. It's really nice colours, isn't it? I was painting with these yesterday with my friend. We were supposed to do a workshop together and a couple of the ladies didn't show up. So we came to my house and painted. And we painted in these colours. We were painting the blood orange moon that we're doing on the 5-day challenge. We had a little paint of that yesterday afternoon. It was lovely. Nice and relaxing with these colours. So yeah, I'm just going to add a few more streaks of white down here because I want it to be quite light and sort of peachy. Peachy. So again, I'm just mixing red and yellow and white together, and I don't mix. It's not very often I mix on my palette. I just mix it as I go and as I paint. But obviously your style is your style, so do it in your way. That's really nice. I love those colours. And I love doing my skies where it ends up being quite streaky. So we've got some darks and lights in there. That usually just tends to happen naturally as I just paint. But you can add some darker streaks in if you want to, and darker patches. You can put a nice bold bit of red in, which looks really nice in the sky. So that's about where I'm going to go up to, because then we've got a little bit of land coming in here, and I'm just going to put a sort of a white line across here. It's going to go pinky, so the red I've got on my brush. Just so I've got a bit of a idea where I'm going to, I'm just going to darken some red under there. I want to paint my dark in there, but I want to leave it for a minute because it needs to dry off. So what I'm going to do next is underneath we've got like a dark line of bushes or hedge stuff here, and then underneath that we get a bit of a reflection, but before the reflection there is a very, very kind of pink line. So I'm going to take a very, very tiny bit of red with my white, and I'm just going to pull in that line. Before we do our reflection. Got a nice big thick bit of white there. Get out. So that would be the next stage that I would do. So we've got that white line in there. Sort of white, very faint pinky white line. We can go over that, it's just so we know it's there. Oh, okay. And then underneath that is where we've got our dark black line. I'm going to leave that for a moment, and I'm going to do the next little bit, which is the reflection bit before the grasses. So if you look here, we've got that white sort of line that we've just put in, white pinky line, then we've got a dark reflection, but I'm going to put in this red orangey reflection here, and we're going to paint in the reflection and the sun, and then put our dark bits in. I hope that makes some sense. I'm going to paint that sun in after, actually. So all we're going to do under that white pinky line is pretty much what we did at the top here. So we're taking some red and some yellow, and we are copying so that we've got a reflection of what's happening in the sky here. And you can whiten that up if you want to. So I'm going to add some white to that. So it pales down. And of course you can add, I've not put much water really in that, but you can add water, which will, I'm going to do a little bit now, which will just pale it off even more. And we just want that. That's about as much as we want to paint. Just, I don't know what that is. I'm not very good with measurements, but a centimetre or something. Or an inch or something, I don't know. Whatever that little section is there. Because then we've got the dark underneath that. Okay, I'm also going to add a little bit of white streakiness through that, like I've got above. Just add in a little bit of white in there. And we will be putting some sun in there in a minute. Mine's more peachy underneath, which I quite like. And I might do that in my, yeah, I'm going to make it a little bit peachy above so that it matches a little bit more. So all I'm doing is just taking that same kind of peachy colour that I've got in the bottom and adding that in. And I'm going to darken up just some of these edges so that this red is coming through into my reflection part there. So I'm just taking red and streaking that in so we've got the impression of the darker colour coming in there. And then back to that little sort of peachy colour in the middle. And we can add to that in a minute with our sun. Lovely, that's looking really nice. This might be too thick here, this white line, but I'm going to let my the bushes and all that come over that bit. So just want to paint in a little sun now, or a little impression of a sun coming up here, and then add the reflection of that in this bit. And then we're going to actually carry on with some of this water for a minute and fade it out for a little bit before we put the black on. No, actually, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do that now, and then we'll carry on with the sun. So I'm just going to take my brush with some water and maybe a little bit of white and a little bit of the yellow. So we can fade this out. So I'm just taking water, white, mainly white, a teeny bit of yellow, and just fading this out. So we've got a very, very cool, that's going to be too bright, but I'm going to pale it down in a minute. So we've just got a really, really cool section of water happening through here. It doesn't matter if you go all the way across, because we can paint the black, the dark bushes and stuff over the top of that in a minute. So don't worry about that. Just going to add a little bit of red into that to blend it in, so it kind of looks like it fades into those colours naturally. Whoops. That's looking really, really nice. So we just want to paint all of this kind of white yellow bit. It doesn't matter how kind of bright and stuff it is. It's just that it gets a lot lighter as we get down into this boat area. So you don't need very much at all. Just some water, a little bit of white, and I've got a very, very little bit of yellow on my brush there, but it doesn't matter. It, like, you know, you can just bring some streaks of orange through there if you want to do what you need to do. I might do that actually, I quite like it. Make it slightly different to the picture. And just add a few light streaks through there. So we'll leave the bottom bit of the water and that in until we come to that. What I'm going to do on this painting, and you are welcome to do the same as me or do something different. I'm just going to paint the one boat in it. I'm not going to put the other two in it. I'm going to paint a really big boat in the middle because that's what I feel like doing. That's what I want to do with this piece, so that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to paint in a little bit of an impression of a sun. So I'm going to take my filbert brush, number 11. We're going to get some yellow and a teeny bit of red. So I've mainly got yellow and I've just added a little dab of red there to get it a little bit orangey. And I'm just going to paint in, careful because that bit's still wet and I forgot and I just touched it. Oh, I haven't got my hairdryer, but if you want to dry it off you can. I'm just going to go for it and paint over the bit if I mess it up. Now remember our black's going to come in here, so we just want to paint in a bit of a, that's probably too big but never mind. I'm just going to paint over that a sec so it's gone too big. We'll do it again in a minute. That's nice actually, I like that yellow. Right, I'll just leave that to dry for a minute and we'll go over that. I might go and grab the hairdryer. We'll go over that with our sun in a minute and we'll do our black. I'm going to grab the hairdryer so I can dry it off. I won't be a sec. Is everyone getting on all right with this? I'm not seeing any comments again at the moment, but hopefully they'll come up. But is everyone feeling happy with what we're doing so far? It's really nice, isn't it? I love these colours. So I'm just going to dry it off a sec. I'll try and paint my sun again without going too big. I didn't want to make it that big. I just wanted to make a bit of an impression. So again, I'm taking some yellow with just a tiny spot of red. That's too much to make it orangey. I've used too much red now. That's quite nice. Okay, and then we're just going to, yeah, that's dry enough. Just going to pop in a little impression of an orange sun here and kind of fade it out with my finger. Just kind of use the brush to bring in a little bit of, what's the word, like blend it in a little bit underneath. So then what we want to do is the same thing. Oops, sorry, hit my head. I can't see what your comment is, but I can see yours, Tracy. So in here, we've got our black bushes, we've got the line, and we've got a little bit of bush there, and then we're going to have like the reflection of this sun just underneath. So it's almost like painting backwards. So we want a little bit of a line there, and then a bit of a bit of an orange. Shadow in there like that, okay? So I've just kind of sort of done a circle, but wiggled it with the brush as well. I might just add a little bit of some of this yellow in here. So a bit of yellow and white that's similar to above. Just to get that real nice impression of the reflection. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So we shall do our bushes and stuff and those ones in the water and a bit of reflection next, before we move on to do our bottom bit with the boat. Okay, is everyone happy with this so far? And keep it up, I hope so. So for the dark bushes, I'm going to actually use not just black. I'm going to use black and mix it with sap green, so that we get a bit of, sometimes I do use black on its own, but I'm not a massive fan of using black on its own. It's so much more beneficial when we mix colours up, and I don't know, it seems to give them more, I don't know what the word is, like depth and stuff. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of black and a little bit of sap green on my palette. And I'm taking my filbert brush, and I am actually going to mix this on the palette, which I don't do very often. I'm just going to take a little bit of black and mix it in with the green there, so we get quite a dark green. So it is almost black, but it's just a black green. If that makes sense. And all we're going to do for this is, wherever you want your bushes, and I'm going to go over some of this white pink line because I don't want it to be so strong. So I'm going to start by pulling in a line across. I'm going to do it this way just so it's easier to get it a bit straight. Am I still on the camera yet? So we just want to get a line all the way across here. I'm not managing to do it very straight. So try and do yours straighter if you can. I'll go over that after. But we just want that in kind of as straight as possible. And then we just want to sort of scumble the brush around to make an impression of something going on in the background. And you can have that as tall as you want, as small as you want. I tend to do it sort of different and just let the brush go at its own pace and wiggle across. And you can do that all the way across. This bit's like the fun bit. I like this. I like making like trees and bushes and stuff. And you can just, like, you could have something a little bit taller up here, resembling a tree or something if you want to. You could bring some of that land down and then it could just stop and then it could rise again. It's really a very, very simple process to do this little bit. And if you want to, you can make trees out of it. So you can kind of pull little slim lines. You can use the same brush. You can use your filbert brush and you could just pull in some little lines wherever you want your trees, and then do a little bit of dabbing. Very gently, to give the impression of some trees in the background. Can you see that? It's really, really small, isn't it? Anyway, you can play around with that. And I would also recommend, mine's just gone completely wonky under there, so I'm going to try and straighten that up a little bit. Just by making a darker line. I think I'll have to go over some of that with white when it's dry. So if you've gone over like I have into the white, you can just go over that with some of the white when it's dried off. In fact, I'm going to do some orange there as well now. So what I would do now is, because there's way too much white, I'm going to bring the orange up a little bit more and then put that little shadow in. So I'm going to take my filbert brush again, take some orange and red, and just bring this up a little bit. Just because I'm a perfectionist. You can play around with this yourself anyway. I'd be here forever doing this, so I'm not going to spend loads of time on this. So we can move on and I can teach you the rest of it. Whee! But the long and short of it is, you want a little tiny white gap in there. And then we're going to put our shadow in there from the bushes. But it is a very, very, very fine line in there, so I'd be making that even slimmer than what I've done. It's way too thick, but we will be here forever if I keep going over that. You see how slim it is, that end? That's what you want to aim for, a lot slimmer all the way across like that. So to put our little shadow in, we want to take the black and the green again. but you can take a little bit of water with it so it makes it sort of a little faded, if you like. And all we're going to do is, you can put your shadow wherever you want, but most of it is under this bit. It seems to go most of the way across. But we just want to paint in a bit of a line here, and you can take your filbert brush and pull it down a little bit. So if you pull that down, it kind of looks like there's a shadow. And then we just do that all the way across pretty much. Just taking your filbert brush, painting in a very slim line here. Woo, I've gone into the white. Doesn't matter too much, but... And then pulling it down a little bit. And then sort of fading it off with your finger. This is how I do it anyway. But my brush is quite watery. So that just gives the impression that there's a bit of a shadow going on. And then that seems to go across to about here. There we go. That's how I would do my shadow. Very faint, very kind of watery and not too much. So our next little bits are the grassy areas at the side for this painting. So we've got this one here and this one here. If you want to, I know it's a bit late now to say this because you're probably already painting with me, but you could have always made this. Remember when we did the lighthouse and we put the texture in? We could put, I've run out of texture, but you could put texture in for these little bits. Now the point of these bits, what it looks to me like is that there's grasses and then there's a reflection of the grass. So again, we're going to do a similar thing. I'm going to take my fan brush to do this, and we're going to take some green and black, and we're going to make some sort of like grassy looking weeds sticking up, and then we'll do a shadow for it. So over here on this side, I've got a little dark line here which I'm going to go by, but we want it sort of, I don't know how, I'm just not very good at this measurement thing, so you just have to guess. With my perspective, that's my way of doing it, guessing. So that much, whatever that is, a centimetre or two down from there, and we want to bring up with the fan brush. You can make these weeds kind of, or grasses like this, and then they go a little bit smaller when they get to the end there. So that would be what I would do over this side. And I'm also going to do, even though it's not quite the same over the other side, I'm going to do the same thing or a very similar thing, but I'm going to do it a little bit higher up, so it looks like it's sort of further away. But we're doing the same thing. It's very simple. We're just using the fan brush, a bit of green, a bit of black, and we're just pulling that up. Okay. That looks really cool, doesn't it? It looks really, really nice. It's really coming on nicely. And then what I would do is literally just dip that fan brush with all the colours that are already on it, dip it in a tiny bit of water, and then we're just going to pull down. So we get a reflection. And it's watery. So So that's our little reflection there, and the same over the other side. Just take just a tiny bit of water. You don't need too much at all, and you can just pull that down there. If you need a little bit more water, sort of goes a bit higher there. That looks better actually. I'm going to add more water. Sort of looks better when it's watery. There we go. I quite like those reflections. They look pretty awesome. What do you guys think? Okay, so now for the tricky bit. Now for the boat that I have no clue how to paint. Well, I've got an idea, but I think I'm not 100% sure how to do the water. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in a very pale blue to give us a base, and then we'll paint the boat in, and then we'll see about darkening up the water. So I am going to take my 1/2 brush, my 1" brush, sorry, and we'll see what happens. You know me, we'll see what happens. I'm going to use a very small amount of cerulean blue or any light blue that you've got, and lots of white, and I'm going to just make a bit of a base watercolour here, colour like, because we've painted sort of over halfway with all that yellowy colour, and then underneath the boat it definitely goes darker, but I'm not very good at, I'm not too sure of like what kind of colour it is, so I'm going to go blue. That's what is coming to me. So we're going to do mainly white with a tiny little bit of blue on there, and I'm just going to paint that in down the bottom. Just going to take a little bit more blue with that and add it in, because it does go quite dark underneath the boat. Obviously we'll do a shadow for the boat anyway, but as I'm not doing the other boats as well, I'm just going to do the one in the middle. I just want to make it, whoops, sorry, is my head getting in the way. I just want to make it like a blue colour for some water. So I'm just using a very, very tiny amount of blue. A little bit of water to ease those colours in. Spread them around a little bit. A little bit more blue and some white. A little bit more water. I might just use a tiny bit more blue down here because it's getting darker. We'll put the grasses in after we've painted the boat. But this doesn't need to be too, like, I'm just painting some colour in here so we've got something as a base. It doesn't need to be too fancy or anything. As you can see, I'm just messy painting. Because it's fun. So it's just nice that we've got something there, and I'm just going to maybe take a little bit of the blue and swirl it through the water a little bit, and to give it some impression of movement, just taking a tiny bit of blue on my brush and letting that just swirl around there on the edges, because my boat's going to go in the middle here. So it really is just a tiny bit of that dark blue swishing about. That will kind of look like there's movement because of that boat being there. Okay. So this is my way of doing it. So let's paint a boat, shall we? Ladies, with no clue how to paint a boat. I've never painted a boat before. Well, apart from my sailboats, but they're just like triangles. But I think that's what we're going to do as well. I was having to think about it last night, and I think the way to get it perspective-wise is I was looking at the shape of the boat, and it looks to me like we kind of want a bit of a sort of circle around here and then a triangle on the bottom of it. I'm going to dry it off and we'll give it a go and we'll see how we get on. But this is a lovely painting so far. I really, really like how mine's turned out so far. I am going to fix that white line a little bit because it hasn't gone very straight. So I'm just going to dry this off a little bit and we'll have a go at the boat. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing. It's not very wet really, because I haven't used much paint at all on there. So what I'm going to do for the boat is, what am I going to do? We'll start with that blue. We'll start with the blue that I've just used, and I'm going to make, like, I'm just going to paint in the kind of shape of it. So that's what you guys can do as well. If you want to take a little bit of white with it, because it's quite a strong blue, then you can. But we'll darken up and lighten up with that bit's scary. Some comments are coming through now. So weird how they don't come through and then they suddenly do. So I think for this, if you look at the shape of the boat, there's like a little, I'm actually going to start it up here because it's quite big, but I'm probably not going to make it as big as it is on there. But I'm going to start it. Yeah, I'm going to start it right at the edge of the blue here, and we're just going to do like a little line like this. Okay, just a little line, and then it kind of goes up a little bit at the edge. So again, two little lines that sort of go up on an angle. And then we want a line. This might not turn out right, by the way. This is just going to be a go at it, and then we'll see how it happens, see if it goes. Because then we want to kind of angle a line here, and then it needs to come round. And we want to do the same the other side. So we want to angle out like this. And then it goes very round very quickly. Seems to sort of go like that. Okay, and then we're kind of going to do the same on the other side. You just have to go for it. I need to move I need to move around this way. I'm not sure if I've got the angle right and the perspective right, because I'm not that good at that kind of stuff. But I like having a go. Okay. So that's what I would do first. Then I'm going to swill off my brush. Just take that little bit of blue that's just taking some water and getting that out a little bit. Ah! never mind, we'll leave that, don't worry. And I'm going to take some white and paint in the next bit, and we'll see if I've got my perspective right. We've still got things to do on that top bit, but what I want to do here then is we want to kind of bring this down into almost a triangle. I think the thing with painting something like this is until you start filling it in and seeing, I never know if it's right or not. I think like it's wrong. I think my circle needs to come round a lot more. So we might have a wonky boat and it might not turn out too well. So actually I'm going to fix it with the white. I'm going to bring this white round here more to paint out that blue. I'm just going to paint all of this little triangle bit in white for a minute, which you won't see very well, but just to give it something. And I'm going to go back over that top bit with some blue, because I think that needs to come round a lot sharper and a lot rounder. More like this. How's that looking? Scared. It's definitely a lot, perspective wise, I think kind of pulls out like this. So I'm just going to keep painting this dark bit in now, and then we can go over it with some white if we need to move it up more. All I'm going to do for this boat is paint across like this and leave like a bit of the middle bit, and I'm going to darken that up, that like hole in the middle thing. I'm going to use some darker blue to do that. So we just want a line across here like this. In fact, the more I paint this in, the more I can see that actually it's very slim up here, and this needs to all be white, so we'll be going over that with some white. We will edge this in a minute and make it a little bit more prominent so we can see the edge pieces. But what we're aiming for is that sort of hole thing in the middle and that hole there. That makes sense. And we're going to paint those in darker, and I'm going to darken that edge up, and then we'll paint some more white down the middle of this boat. So we go for the white next. Get rid of loads of this blue. We're just going to leave that for a minute because we'll pull some lines in. It's still not quite right, is it? It's getting there, but it ain't quite right. Right, we'll take... why is it so tricky to paint a flipping boat? We'll take some dark blue. I'm going to take my Prussian blue and do those middle bits. I think what you have to do with this, with something like this, is you just need to keep working at it and painting over it until you get it right. So you can keep following me, but we might be here for days. So this bit is actually dark all across. All the way across. So I've just got my Persian blue. I'm still on my, oh, I've dipped in the white there. No, hang on, we don't want that. Just making that a very dark line, and this actually goes back further and just comes to maybe there. And then I'm going to go back to the lighter blue. To fill in those gaps. I'm not super impressed with it. I'm going to take a bit of black and put a line around the rim here. If anyone knows what I'm doing wrong or how to do it, feel free. Salvador Dali style face. What? Looks like a face. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I don't really like painting boats, I've decided. Whose idea was this? Right, I'm going to take some really slim lines for the boat. And I think if we put a slim black line down the middle there, that might help. It's not really going very well, is it? I think I'm going to give up, guys. Sorry about that. But I just don't know how to paint this boat. So I don't know how to teach it you. So I'm going to stop because I don't know how to do it. But we can, if this was me and my painting now, I'd probably just paint over this and carry on and make it a beautiful sunset or whatever, and pull in some grasses at the bottom, because I'm going to paint over that boat because I don't know how to do it. So feel free to leave the painting room and never paint with me again. I understand. I get it. But I don't know how to do it. I'm not too good at the perspective of these things, but that's going to make a nice nice colours in the water now, which is lovely. And I would prefer to paint waterfalls in here. So let's paint this boat out, and we'll paint some grasses in the bottom. I wonder if you guys can manage to do it. I'd love to know. Somebody asked me for a commission the other day and I said, no, I can't do it. So I think it's good to know what you can paint and what you can't paint. And at the moment, I have no clue how to paint a boat. If anyone else knows or has managed to do it, let me know. I'm going to take a bit more white and... Where's my white paint gone? Go over this. Mine will turn out that way. What should we paint instead? Whee! Right. Just going to put some white through this to blend it into the yellow. It's a really nice sea, isn't it? I love painting water. Woo! Splattering it all over my computer. Nothing new there. I do love painting water, I have to say, but I need some practice on a boat. I wonder if we could try doing the boat at this on a side angle. That might be easier, or maybe I need to practice boats before I try and teach them. I think that might be the issue here, when I don't practice beforehand and I just come straight in and see if I can paint it. Try some rocks. A paintbrush coming out of the water. That's weird. That looks really nice. I quite like it just as it is, to be honest. And kayaks, bloody hell, that's bloody worse than boats. Let's see if we can paint a boat on the side. I'm going to try a side boat. This is the beauty of what was I going to say? Being able to paint over stuff. That's why I love acrylics, because you can just paint over it if it doesn't work out. So let's do a boat on the side. I know what we could do. We could do a sailboat. I can do one of them. So I'm going to take some dark blue and some of the what do you call it? Cerulean blue, and I'm going to I'm just going to dry it off a minute. When I looked at that boat yesterday, I was like, yeah, I can paint that. So I think with a boat on its side, it would be more like, this is probably going to turn into a disaster now as well. So yeah, that would be more. That's easier to do, isn't it? That looks a bit like a boat, does it? Does it look like a banana? Michelle the painter, I like her. She's really good. So I'm just taking the filbert brush and sweeping round to get a bit of an impression of a side boat. It's a bit better, isn't it? I'm going to take a bit of white and add some stripes to it. So I'm just dipping in the white and bringing that round so it looks sort of like a boat. A banana boat. I know, it does look like a banana boat. But it looks better than my other one. Don't ever ask me to paint boats again, alright? I'm going to put some white across the top. so that we can have some dark that sort of looks like the inside of the boat at the top. So I'm just painting in with the dark blue there, so we've got I don't know, how's that looking? This is my fault. Was it you that did? Was it you that shared the picture? I couldn't remember, Joanna. It's fine. Don't worry. I don't care. This is how you learn, isn't it? I'm going to practice how to paint boats. This is quite nice. I quite like doing this one. I like doing it at the side. So I'm just taking some, making some kind of dark and light parts on it. There we go. It's not looking too shabby, is it? I'm going to darken it up over there again a little bit, and then we'll put a little shadow in and maybe paint some oars or something. It's quite nice, that is. It's a bit wonky, but there you go. How would we do the shadow for that? I guess we would take some water with the same colours on your brush, but some water. Where would the shadow go? Just going to wing this, guys. And paint the shadow underneath. I would take some more water on this to bring that shadow down. And you can just paint the shadow across as well, so that it because it's in the water. The beauty of the reflections in the water are that they just reflect anywhere and everywhere. So that's how I would kind of do the shadow in the water. Not too bad, really. And we could make some little oars on the boat if you want to. I'm just painting in some watery blue now, to just let that have a nice big shadow under the water. I might take some white to pull some white around it, just to blend it in a little bit. bit more white because it's gone blue. How's that looking? And you can obviously take some white around the edges to give that impression of the ripples in the water that would be coming from the boat. I'm going to whiten this up here because it's too dark. Just taking some white and blending it in and scrumbling it around a little bit. To finish that off. So yeah, if you want to paint oars on your boat, you can. Oops. Quite enjoyed doing this one. Like, I really enjoyed doing all the sunset and stuff. Yeah, so there's my boat. I think I would add some more white just to define that edge there as well. And you can play around with it on your boat to see what makes sense to you. That looks quite nice with the white edge. Yes, I'm quite liking my boat now. Should we just finish off by painting some oars? Yeah, we could just like have an oar leaning up against it. So let me just dry it off and then we'll do a little oar on it. So to make an oar, I'm going to use a bit of yellow. Actually, I've got my Naples yellow, and I'm going to use a little bit of black with that to see if it'll maybe darken up to a greyish, yellowish grey colour. Yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah, that's dry. So yeah, we could just have like, I'm just going to paint in maybe a little line that goes into the water and then reflects down there. make that into a paddle handle. Just painting like around a round bit on the top. And then you could take a little tiny bit of black. You might want to use a smaller brush than this, Phil, but you'd make like a little circle thing over it. So it looks like it's going through the you know, the little thing on the side that holds them on. Don't know what they're called. How's that look? We can paint another one as well. That's not too bad, is it? A little oar thing like that. And then take a little bit of white just over the top of that to give it a bit of a highlight. And just paint a little bit of white down the side of it. To give it a highlight. And then you could paint another one if you want to over the top of it. Probably want to just darken it up a bit, so use a little bit. If you're using the yellow to paint that and the ochre and the black, just add a little bit of a dark shadow on it. So you could paint like another circle here. And then another line down there, and you could add a tiny bit of black down the edge of that to sort of show that there's another one there. And then paint that in lighter, and then add a little bit of white on that one. And your shadow for those in the water. There we go. It's not too bad, is it? Couple of little oars there on your boat. And there we are. The only thing I would finish off now would be, I would just go over this little bit with white a little bit, because I can still see the old boat underneath. So that's how you paint a boat in a sunset. Lucy style. At the side when you get it wrong. It's actually really nice. I really like this painting. Oops, sorry, my head going in the way again. Ta-da! Lovely, guys. Sorry that I went a bit wrong and I couldn't do it. Maybe when you guys send me pictures, maybe I'll have to get you to send them and I'll practice them and see if I can do them, or we can just keep going wrong and you can just see me go wrong, which doesn't bother me. Okay, I think that's such a beautiful painting and I've really enjoyed most of it today. And yeah, actually I think it's really good that you see me go wrong and you see me not get it right, you know, not get it perfect all the time, because that's how I learn as well. So I'm just real, I'm just honest, and that's what you get with me. Hello, here's my little face in case you miss it. Lovely, really enjoyed that today, and I can't wait to see your impressions of this tomorrow. I will pop a post in as always, and we'll see what you've created. You can add more boats, of course, as well, and more oars, and I like it that you guys usually, you all get creative and you carry on and you do your own thing. It does, it looks really nice, doesn't it, Joanne? I'm really pleased with it. To be honest, I'm going to share it on Facebook today and say who wants to come and join us and paint more beautiful pictures. I'm going to straighten up my white line in a minute and play around with that. But other than that, I'm really pleased with it. So thank you. Thank you for painting along with me, ladies. And I will see you next week. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a lovely weekend.